I travel alone a lot. And one thing that people always ask me is this: are you afraid? And the answer is not really, because I always take precautions whenever I travel, before I even step foot on a plane. Welcome to my channel. If you're here, you're probably a Black person or person of color who's a solo traveler, or maybe you're solo travel curious, and you want to know what you can do to make sure that you're having a fun and successful trip. Here are tips to make sure that you can do that and stay safe. These are steps that I take before I travel to any unfamiliar place. Here we go. First, let's talk about the importance of research. Understanding the socio-political climates of whatever country you're traveling to is going to be so important for you to have a safe time there. I like to use the Department of State website because on there I can see travel advisories and exit and entry requirements. They also have health information or things about local laws that we might need to know as travelers from the United States for whatever country we're traveling to. But don't stop there. You should also be looking at local news and seeing whatever up-to-date information they might have about what's going on the ground. Political unrest, disasters, protests, all of these things can happen at any moment, and the Department of State website might not be updated fast enough. So it's important to make sure that you're definitely reading these local news outlets. And of course, you could check out my TikTok and Instagram for more information, where I give reviews for Black travelers and travelers of color of different cities and countries. Now, this one might sound a little retro, but don't sleep on Facebook groups. 95% of the reason I even have a Facebook is for the groups. If you're a solo traveler, there are groups within whatever niche interest you might have. Maybe it's women travelers or travelers within a specific country. Either way, I'm sure no matter what it is that you are looking for, you'll probably find a Facebook group for it. My favorite Facebook group is the Girls Love Travel group, and they have a subgroup called Mixtries, which is for women of color and their allies. I love these communities because you can talk to like-minded travelers and people with a similar lived experience to your own so that you can get a better understanding of what things might be like for you in another country. Once you find a group that looks interesting to you, just click join and answer whatever member questions they have, and then be sure to interact once you're in. Also, according to an AT&T and YouGov survey, 21% of adults are afraid to solo travel because they're afraid of feeling lonely. But being a solo traveler does not mean you have to be alone. I've used Mixtries to meet up with different travelers abroad. When I went to Guatemala just a few months ago, I met up with someone there from that Facebook group, and we still talk to this day like every other day. Other platforms like Meetup can also help you find travelers and expats. And speaking of expats, finding someone who's already navigated the local culture can be super helpful. All right, now let's dive into understanding cultural norms, which is a must for any solo traveler. Because understanding different customs and etiquette can not only make your trip smoother, but also help you avoid any unintended disrespect. Now, why is this important? It's because each country has its own set of unique customs. For instance, in Japan, bowing is a common greeting. And in some Middle Eastern countries, eating with your left hand is considered disrespectful. Now, how can you adjust your behavior? Here are a couple quick tips. For one, do your research before you travel. Look up local customs. How do people move? Just make sure that you're prepared for anything that might just be like an obvious sign of disrespect. And then once you arrive, watch how the locals act. Follow their lead, be self-aware. Be aware of your surroundings. Understand that when you're doing something that nobody else is doing, then maybe you should. And feel free to ask friendly locals for help when you're stumped on how to respond in any sort of situation. Some customs that I've learned while traveling are, 1, in Japan, you don't hand cash to people in their hand. You put it on the tray in front of you when you're paying for something. And in Paris, you'll get along a lot better if you, 1, actually speak French, and dress a lot more stylishly than I do. So we've already talked about social media groups, but in-person groups are pretty great too. For instance, if you're a solo traveler and you don't want to be alone, you could also join a tour group. They usually have a lot of opportunities for you to go off and do your own thing, so you don't feel like you're stuck with these people forever, but you can kind of have some safety in numbers when you're in a big group like that, and you get the added benefit of some companionship. Now, some destinations are more high risk, high reward, and if you're the adventurous type, I know this is all you dream about. But before you go running off to some remote part of the world, you have to do some risk assessment. That might mean planning shorter stays in some of these high risk areas, or making sure that your flight arrives early so you don't have to navigate to your hotel at night. Limit your time in these places and focus on must-see attractions. For example, if you're visiting a city known for its challenges, plan a concise itinerary so that you can limit your exposure to potential risks. Basically, see what you came to see and get on out. These aren't the places where you want to wander the streets and turn down alleys and just see what happens. For added security, you can book guided tours, stay in well-reviewed accommodations, and always have a plan for emergencies. Keep your trip short and sweet. Make sure that you can really have fun, but not compromise your safety. This next one goes without saying, but make sure to have regular check-ins when you're traveling solo. Keep your family and friends updated for your safety and their peace of mind. Make sure someone always knows where you are and can raise an alarm if something seems off. This provides a safety net and can make you feel more secure knowing that your loved ones are aware of your movements. You can stay in touch by using an app like WhatsApp or getting a local SIM card. But personally, I want to use my phone just like I'm still in the United States. I don't want to change nothing. I don't want to do nothing else. So that's why things like AT&T's International Day Pass are super helpful for people like me. It allows you to use your phone just like you would at home for a flat daily fee. That means you don't have to change your number. You have unlimited data, you have unlimited text. You can call your mom as soon as you land. You can stay connected without having to worry about coming home to some wild bill. This tip is for all my fly girls, the ones with their nails done and a pedicure and their hair did. Don't be flashy with your money. Depending on what country you're in, traveling might not be the best time to wear all your gold jewelry, the Gucci, and the Birkin. I actually always leave my expensive jewelry at home. You don't want to do anything to entice any thieves or stand out as a target. Honestly, nothing you do, say, or wear should scream, "Look at me, I have money," unless you're going to some five-star resort in Turks and Caicos or the Amalfi Coast or something. I suggest not to even leave your hotel with anything more than your credit card and a small amount of cash, just in case you're ever robbed or pickpocketed. And whenever you make a payment, make sure to put all of your money away before you walk away. This next one calls back to our elementary school days because I want to talk about stranger danger. The main point I want to make here is to never tell a stranger that you're traveling alone. Always create the impression that you have a support system nearby. If someone asks, you can say you're meeting with friends later or that you're staying with family. This small lie can help deter potential danger. And don't share your hotel name or specific plans you have with people you just met. Keep conversations surface level. And this next point is big for me as a creator. Do not post content while you're still in a specific location or attraction. You'd be surprised how much location information people can gather from a simple photo. One time I was actually on a dating app and I had this picture on my profile and this guy messaged me and he's like, "Oh, were you at such and such restaurant?" And I was like, how did you figure that out?" And he was like, "Oh, I can see the napkin sitting there." And I'm like, no, sir. And yes, I unmatched him because that was weird. Also, trust your instincts. If someone makes you uncomfortable, it's okay to walk away. You can step into a restaurant or go to a nearby crowd. And also, stay aware of your surroundings. Don't keep your head in your phone all the time because that makes you a very easy target. Personally, if I know I'm going to be using my phone for a prolonged amount of time, I'll walk into a store before I start using my GPS or sending that text message. Before I wrap, I want to quickly remind you of some emergency preparedness tips. Always familiarize yourself with the location of your country's embassy or consulate in the country that you're going to. And always have a list of emergency contacts and important local numbers like the police or medical services. Save these in your phone and keep a written copy as well. And you should also register all foreign trips with the US Department of State. Now, lastly, I've said this one before, but I really want to emphasize it. Trust your gut. Your intuition is a powerful tool to keep you safe. If a situation feels weird or uncomfortable, you need to walk away. Just remove yourself immediately. Avoid secluded areas, especially at night, and stick to well-lit, populated places where you can find help when you need it. Always prioritize your safety and never ignore that little voice that's telling you something might not be right. So those are the precautions I take when I travel abroad. I know it's a lot, but I'm a woman and I'm Black, so I'm not playing any games. If you have any other safety tips, drop them in the comments. Like and subscribe for more travel stories and travel content.